The BBC are finally doing some good housekeeping and cutting their budget, which means that some of their own biased presenters are losing their gig in the newsroom. Well, it's the end of the week, it's Friday, so we thought we'd give you some good news from the lamestream media. They know, the whole cabal, that they have to reform. They no longer live in the analog world, and they have to keep up with the times that we live in, especially when it comes to the BBC, because they are also under a lot of pressure when it comes to the 2027 deadline of the Royal Charter and the license fee. In order for them to not get completely kicked out, they want to make sure that they make relevant changes and cuts to make sure they streamline the whole service. But this is also causing some drama in the BBC. We're going to talk about that in a second. But one of the things that they are doing is merging some of the news services, specifically the world service and the domestic service. But as I said, that's actually causing some chaos at the BBC HQ. But this means that in order to do a bit of streamlining and make things more simplified, some of the main top presenters, biased presenters, are being pushed out. They're going to have to do other things, especially when it comes to prime time. And a couple of them who are now losing that job and that role are the ones that we have repeatedly talked about on this channel, because they have repeatedly broken the rules of impartiality and their own BBC guidelines. They are anti-Brexit. They are anti anything that's not left-wing. Anything to the right of Stalin is basically completely hard right. Let's start with the first one. Martine Croxall. Yes, do you remember her? Martine, who a few months ago, when Boris Johnson was resigning and the Tories were in chaos, during her own show, she was, as she said, she was gleeful. She was very excited for all the drama. She was like, oh, there's so much drama. I like the drama. But again, even if it were Sky News or any other channel that's still mainstream but it's private, they can still get away with it because they don't have the same guidelines. They don't have the Royal Charter, the BBC Charter. But so the BBC are under more pressure every day to not cross those lines. She did it during that show 2 or 3 times. And up to a point where she even made the joke at the end saying, I'm probably breaking the guidelines. Proudly. So she got into trouble, but then she came back. But that was it. Second one. Oh, dear God. Yes. Do you remember her? GETTR Guru Murthy. She was the woman who, on Brexit night, on the Brexit celebration night, in the end of January 2020, when everybody was celebrating in central London, she said that Brexit celebration is very, very white. It's a similar comment that Jon Snow made on Channel 4 a while ago, saying that the Brexit rallies, he's never seen so many white people in one place. And so Guru Murthy also said that, the crowd, the British people who voted to leave, and they are British, and the majority of this country is basically white. She was surprised that the crowd was mostly white. Yes, this is the white country overall. Get used to it. It makes no sense. What do they want to do? Do they really want to completely change the image of the country in the name of multiculturalism? They want to completely change everything. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. That's exactly what they want to do. They don't want people to just organically and slowly integrate into society. They want the whole of the white, English, Scottish, Welsh, or people from Northern Ireland, all that to just get wiped out. And everybody to get mixed with everybody, and then completely culture will be completely different. That's the reality. But this merger is causing some drama, as I said. So, even this came out a few days ago that the BBC News, ahead of the channel merger, the BBC bosses are unable to provide answers even to their own staff. Do you know why? Because they don't know how the channel will actually serve the UK viewers in the event of breaking news. So basically, the domestic and the world service will be merged, which means that if breaking news happens in 2 places at a time, so something big happens in the UK somewhere, like, I don't know, Northern Ireland, and at the same time something happens in Washington, D.C., they will be confused. Which one should they prioritize? I mean, I love how this is even a debate at the BBC. Of course you have to prioritize what happens in the UK. It makes no sense. And if something happens abroad, as long as it's relevant to the UK and the British interests, then cover it. Otherwise, prioritize whatever's happening in the moment in Britannia. It's not really rocket science, is it? But clearly, the BBC bosses are very confused. They're sitting in the boardrooms having meetings saying, so what do we do? Should we prioritize something that happens in Pakistan or something that happens in London? Absolute idiots. Anyway, we're going to take a break. Let me know what you think. I'm Mahyar Tousi, and we are the media.